Welcome to the Directors UK podcast. We're the professional association for UK film and TV directors. No matter the format, no matter the genre, our featured directors share their approach to the craft. We hope you enjoy.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Toyin. Tonight, we have in conversation Shiori Itô and Jeanie Finlay on Black Box Diaries. A warm welcome to you both, and I will now hand over to Jeanie. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Toyin. It's always a pleasure to do something for Directors UK. I'm so excited that we can have this conversation today. I watched the film yesterday and it's astounding. I found it so moving, but also just so I love films where you feel like you're getting to ride tandem with the person who's making the film. And I think that those films are becoming rarer. You know, where you don't know what the outcome is going to be and you're there in the moment, in the present tense. So I'm really looking forward for us to have this conversation and just dig into a bit more about the directing of it and how you made the film. So, I mean, it's how these talks always go. Let's start at the beginning. I want to know not how it became a film, but I want to know about the instinct where you decided to first pick up a camera and start filming things, and whether the covert filming that we see in the film, whether that was the first instance. But yeah, just take us into it. How did a camera end up in your hand and you started recording things?
Yeah, so first it was a small voice recorder that was always hidden in my bra or wherever I can hide. So I started to record the conversation with investigator and prosecutor because I start feeling like maybe they are not doing their job or they might be part of cover up for my rape case. But of course I have to believe whatever, they're doing to push the case forward. But I think first of all, I'm a journalist as well, so that really helped me to somehow deal the case that happened to me, because also I think it was quite hard for me to just deal it as a survivor. So I could ask questions as a journalist, and that was sort of give me some good distance to see what happened to me. But after 2 years of these process of trying to seek justice within in our legal system in Japan, I realized that it is quite hard because the man I was accusing was quite powerful. He later became a biographer of ex-Prime Minister Abe, and yeah, he was always on TV supporting these powers, and he had very powerful friends. So the first thing I filmed, I still remember, which is the first bit of my film, is that iPhone diary thing. That wasn't for me to thinking about making a film. It was more, I felt like I need to document it. So if something happened to me, or yeah, because I was quite scared for what was happening around me. That the arrest warrant disappearing, and I start hearing that people are trying to pressure other journalists not to deal with this case and so on. So yeah, just instinct of cover, document myself, and then I decide to go public so that I can be more protected. But then I realized that it was difficult for Japanese media and journalists to cover, because I was expecting they can maybe reach out to these people who I can never maybe reach to do interviews. But I think what I experienced was not just the sexual violence, but also power corruption, and it exists in each place: police, prosecutor, media. So that moment, I just felt like, okay, maybe I'm the closest person who I can cover the story. And yeah, I made documentary filmmaking was also my profession. So I
Mhm.
slowly start gathering materials, but I never had the idea of how I'm going to construct because I never knew where I was heading, but I had a goal, what I want to tell about my experience after the rape. So that was crystal clear.
And I really want to talk about the opening scene of the film. I watched the opening of the film, and that sort of POV shot in the taxi where the taxi driver is sort of recounting that they dropped you off at the hotel and that they're a witness. And I thought it was a really smart way to open the film because it was just telling us so much about the grammar of the filmmaking. This is first person. This is shot by the person who's telling their own story. It feels close, and there's this sort of dawning horror that you realize that the steps that have gone into taking place, that you've had to track down, retrace your steps, find this person, and then get them to talk about it. I just want to hear a bit more about that process of choosing to do that, of using that scene, but also how did you find the taxi driver? How willing were they to speak to you, and the decision to open the film with that? Because I'm surmising that these are the reasons that you chose, but I mean, I'd love to just hear more about that.
Yeah, well, finding taxi drivers. So because I have to sort of reinvestigate my own case through the process, I found him through the CCTV footage that follows after interviewing him, because I saw the taxi in a shot, so I could find which company and the car number, and that's how I found the person. Um, when I talked to him, that was the first time I met him. So that was the first time me hearing what he witnessed, and I was quite surprised how much he remembered.
Mm.
So later, I asked him officially if he can be witness. So yeah, he became a witness. But yeah, the problem with making this film was that I realized that I can't really. First of all, yeah, telling my own story as a journalist was really a tough thing to do because it's I'm breaking traditional rules to
Mm.
start with. So I have to embrace that. No, but in a film, it's okay to do it. But it took some time for me to really start thinking about how to do it, how it is okay to tell one-sided story, and especially because this sexual violence, this rape happened to me 2015, and making this film took 8 years. So I felt like I'm super different person today, and I didn't feel right about putting voice from today. So what we did was putting everything chronological. But then the problem was first 2 years we only had the audio. Maybe
Mhm.
another 1 year we only had like an iPhone footage because I wasn't really thinking about filmmaking. So it was quite raw
Mm.
footage, and it wasn't very cinematic. So I was struggling how to tell the story without my voice from today or voiceover, but using the raw footage. But then our first 20 minutes would be like no visual, only audio, and that can be it. So um yeah, I really have to think through how to do it. But the first thing that I really want to make sure is that I didn't want to re-traumatize myself with this film.
Mhm.
So I didn't want to put all the details of the rape itself in the beginning. And I didn't want audience to always carry the image of that violence. So there is one moment in the film that more details is coming out through my friends reading my own testimony, but towards the end of the film. But of course, we have to feed what was happening. And I really thought Taxi Driver just remembering that night how he took us to the hotel, how he decided to take me to the hotel was very important. Not telling too much, but a crucial, witness. And I couldn't just rephrase that words of, I could film him again to do interview, but I didn't want to. I just want to use something that was captured that time. So even that was a role. That's why I decided to put it in the opening of the film.
Oh, I think it's really refreshing to not have stuff filmed, on a quote unquote cinematic camera. It's raw, it's immediate, and it fits the story. Like it feels like you're with you and you're discovering. I think it's a really rare thing in films to discover something in the moment, and there's a visceralness to that. There's in the age of streaming, when you're given a list of cameras that you're supposed to shoot on and an editor that you're supposed to work with, it feels rebellious and exciting to see stuff that doesn't fit with those rules. I imagine at that stage, those are things that you weren't thinking about at all. It's just like, just get on with it. But I guarantee that if you reshot it, it would not have the same. It's just, you can smell it. It doesn't work in the same way. So I'm interested in finding more out about the person that you collaborated with. So you're you're shooting some of your film yourself, but then you're also working with a producer, a friend who's also filming you. So I'd like to know about how that transition happened, whether you and how you work as a director in that situation. Do you brief what you want to be filmed, or do you just have enormous trust with your collaborator? Just tell us more about this.
Yeah, so most of the film is shot by a producer, Hannah Ackling, and also other friends of mine. So Hannah was someone who reached me out with her Japanese friend, who was they were both in London, and they just Skyped me and said that they know that how hard it must be for me to live in Tokyo now. And I was hiding at my best friend's house, and I couldn't work anymore. So I decided to take the opportunity because they were opening their door saying, you can just stay at our houses. So yeah, I just decided to escape. And we didn't have discussion about making film, but I was writing book about what happened, and I did slowly thinking about a filmmaking. But I've been only making TV docs. I never made a film, so we've been like knocking on the door, asking, "How do we make a film?" And we didn't know anything. But then Hannah and her Japanese friend was part of this female organization, Zonta London, and these just amazing lady decided to give us some money for enough for that we can get the ticket to go back to Japan so we can start filming. But then it was more like we didn't have any filming plan or something, but it was just Hannah decided to come to ask this question with me, and just have someone like Hannah who believes in storytelling, who also, I don't know, didn't want anything in the beginning. She wasn't telling me I want to be a producer, or I want to be a director, or I want to be co-director, or she was just there to say, you know what, we're just gonna ask this question. We just gonna, I'm just gonna try to keep you safe, and I believe in what you're doing. So what happened was, every day something was happening, and she just was there to film, but she wasn't like a trained camera person. So we always make fun of her camera work. We call it Hannah effect because it's really like raw and real. But because I was too in the middle of what I was experiencing in front of me, chasing the police, asking questions, doing an interview, trying to find the truth. I couldn't direct the camera or what to film about me, but it was just because Hannah, who was really amazing person, who became my best friend, was filming. So I didn't really felt like she was putting camera at me all the time. She was just there to witness. So yeah, that's how we gathered all the materials, and it was a pain in the beginning because we had this idea of making film, and when once we opened all the materials, I'm like, oh my gosh, Hannah, but you see Hannah's progress of camera work, and now she works for Nat Geo and Netflix, so she's an amazing shooter now. But that time, like, because we didn't really check the footage because it was just every day was too crazy. So we just had to revisit what we filmed after 4 or 5 years, and so for me, documenting part wasn't hard because it was always done with someone I really trusted, friends. Also, I couldn't just focus on dialecting, so it was just gathering everything we can, and I really didn't have much control what was filmed.
Can I ask about in that filming process? I know that when I film observationally a lot, and when I'm filming, I often think about. I worked with Kate Townsend, who's now at Netflix, and I worked with her at Storyville, and we made 3 films together. And she just sort of said to me, "You always need to film for a scene. Like, what's the scene? What are you filming?" And I think about that quite a lot when I'm doing something. So, I'll sometimes go and I'm not sure, and I'll just film a few bits, and then I'll let things unfurl, and then I'll sort of hoover up the bits that I might need for the edit. Were you were you thinking about scenes and that sort of stuff when you were at this stage, or was it just we just need to document everything that's happening in the immediate present tense? Because sometimes
Yeah,
things are just very frantic and
yeah. I think we did film everything in the end. We had over 400 hours of footage. But what happened was when we were, knocking the door, asking how to make a film in London, we found the way to start making a film, which is making 1 hour version for BBC.
Mhm.
So so we did that, which was more focused on a Japanese society, and me sort of like doing more like reporting work. But so in the film, I think you can tell a bit of different shot that's more, I don't know, BBC-ish, but we try to cut it out all these as possible because again, it didn't match with whatever we were gathering.
Yeah.
But because of that, we did have some, I guess, scenes at some point. That was very lucky because we had no plan. So it was great to have that plan in the middle. Some of the part I not reshot, but I wanted put more of self point of view shot. So I went through the diary of mine and trying to remember where I had a conversation while I was recording audio, or where I was when I was talking to the police at the police station in an investigating room. What did I see through the window? So these things, I went out with my small camera and start filming, so we can create something we didn't have visual, or we can create a scene with all these real footages.
Yeah, great. Well, I mean, it worked. It flows, and that's what you need. It just needs to flow, and I think it does it really successfully. You really feel like you're alongside you on the journey. There's lots of things I want to ask you about. There's thinking about your the duty of care to you as a person. I'm interested in whether you had any support. I mean, you had the support of your producer and shooter and friend, but did you have any formal sort of support, like mental health support, while you were making the film, or in fact, when you've been taking the film out on the road, do you have anyone that neutral that you can talk to?
Not really, but again, thanks to making BBC Docs, they gave me 5 sessions of therapy session in London. So I've tried that, but that was 5 times and I didn't continue. It was something too pricey to continue for me. But I did try while I was editing, I did try something called exposure cognitive session, which is like you just keep speaking, telling about your trauma. You record it and you listen all the time. But then I had to tell my therapist, I think that's what I'm doing every day in the editing room. And it was quite draining. I tried to do that for sometimes, but it was too energy draining, so I didn't complete. So I feel like in the end, filmmaking was therapy session, even though that was very hardcore exposure, whatever session in a way, because I had to revisit these footage that I wish I forget, or some of them I forgotten about. It's really interesting. It was really interesting to see what part of my life I've forgotten about, or what scenes what I've forgotten about, and how that's often like, I guess I didn't want to remember the most sometimes. So it was interesting to see, how trauma works as well. And no, it's really hard. I really do recommend for people who has trauma to, do make film process, but then you do need help. It's painful right now. Even like, I'm very happy how we have exposure with this film. We've been traveling, but I'm right now, I feel like I need help. I don't know how other filmmakers do. It's a lot.
I mean, I think it's a real I think it's a really hot issue that a lot of people are talking about. Like I started working with a mental health supervisor for film 3 films ago. And now, because I produce and direct my films, it's a budget line. So I work with an organization called Film in Mind who are based in Cumbria, and they've been pioneering mental health support for film. So I've on my last film, she's on the poster, because mental health support looks different for lots of different things. My editor didn't want mental health supervisor, but what she wanted was a massage once a week. So we used to have like massage Thursday, and there was a chair massage. But I want someone to talk to, because if it's bringing stuff up, I think that the industry is tough, and I want to make tender films. And in order to do that, I need support. So that's why I have mental health supervision.
That's putting that in budget, because
Gotta
right
be in
now I'm
budget.
trying.
Otherwise, it doesn't happen.
Exactly, because right now I'm trying to tell my team I really need help, but it doesn't happen because, yes, it's hard to put it in the end. But then the thing is, if you don't make it into the budget in the beginning, film life has long life, and it's not like you make it, you finished and that's it. That's what I'm afraid of right now. But I have a good now way of coping mechanism in many ways. I do go massage. I do go traditional Thai massage, because sometimes you can't even move. So they open your chest and like so. But yeah, I think to find a professional person who understands filmmaking process and trauma, or dealing with this sensitive topic, it's important. And I think it's great to know that there are person out there that is the profession of it, that I didn't know. So that's like, I think I'm gonna Google about it like after I talk to you.
I'll send you some stuff. But I mean, the reason why I
Thank you.
mentioned it is because I was watching the film. I was watching the film and I was thinking, God, it's very deep film that's done very tenderly and very lightly. There's some very, like that, the opening scene with the taxi is so lightly done, but it immediately puts you in the point of view of you. And then there's the very, the point of view at your worst when you're in the hospital. It's so delicately done. We see a POV shot of the drip, so we know you're in hospital. And you don't need to over-egg it. But I'm watching this and thinking, this film is a big ask. Like you're really showing us your tender underbelly. And I was wondering, I think the process that I was thinking, because I knew we were going to have this conversation, was, what's that like to take that out on the road? And I think you've just explained that. But I do wonder about what is that process like? Like I was at a documentary day last week, and there was lots of filmmakers. There was it was like a showcase of 6 different films, and the guy who made The Remarkable Life of Evelyn was talking about the parents in that film, and saying that they'd watched that film something like 147 times, because the process of watching the film was a therapeutic process for them. And I heard that and I was just like, that's wild, because I can't do that.
Yeah.
I watch my films a number of times, and then when they're done, I put them to bed in my head, I put them away, and then I don't watch them again for a few years. They're sort of they're done. They're on the shelf for a little while.
Yeah.
So could you talk a bit about what that
Totally.
process is like sitting with it, because it's another part of the directing process, or even us having this conversation today. It's all thinking and excavating that process of being a director and standing up and saying, this is the work I made and this is what I care about.
Well, I actually met the father and family of Evelyn, Remarkable Life of Evelyn, and they were at Sundance, and they actually did a screening at the high school and talking with the students. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, I, as a filmmaker and a subject, I decided to make a film. So that's, it's what I signed up for. And seeing them, but they're willing to do it, it's hard because they obviously also need help. And I mean, I've made a film about other people before, but never trouble with them. So I just kept thinking, like, how is it like? And so it's hard. It's somehow, as a filmmaker, because we wanted to make the film, it's something that's forgotten, because I feel like I shouldn't say, but I should say. But now I'm like talking a lot about mental health with my team, because it's hard. I realize it's hard. And yes, I can't watch it a lot. I did watch so many times, but after we screened, I think I only watched handful. But every time I go to do Q&A, I go in 10 minutes before so I can be the same. But then I always see the person's face, that the offender's face, that I wish I don't have to see. So I always like meditating in the corner of the theater and go. So it is hard. And it's not just hard to me, it's hard for audience too. And that I realized that how much trigger I'm making to the audience. And that's something that I try to be sensitive about it, but it affects audience. So I wish I could source the support to call this number, but each country has a different support system. I feel like UK has a good one, and maybe US, but other place I don't know. In Japan, I can't say one place, but when we did a screening in Sundance and Hot Dogs, the festival found a special therapist standby at the theater. So whoever they announced that whoever have some difficult time, they're always outside of the theater, so you can talk to them anytime during or after the film. And I felt that that's what we need all the time, because I feel like sometimes these films that deals with trauma, it's like huge therapy session in a way that you have to also reflect yourself. And yeah, so I don't know, we all need support, I think.
I wondered if you could I was thinking about this film and the timing of it coming out. I was following the French case of Giselle Pellicot, and also the case last week in Ireland of Nikita Hand, who took Conor McGregor to civil court, and he was found guilty of rape. And then Giselle Pellicot. I think that I love her quote, it's not for us to have shame. And I sort of feel like, obviously we had the Me Too movement, but it feels like there's a different thing going on now, where it's not just about people speaking out, it's about using shame as a force. And I'm really interested in that because I feel like, consciously or subconsciously, this is what your film epitomizes. It's about this idea of shame cannot cage us. And I wondered whether can you talk about the moment where the film is coming out? Do you get a sense of this from the way that audiences are reacting to it, whether it feels part of a global movement?
I see audience start saying that now I'm ready to create something that deal with my trauma or something I never talked about to others. And yeah, you're right, because the shame, it's coming with like labeling, I think, with the label of victim, label of, I don't know, many names. And when we know we can create, or when we know when we can choose the language, how we speak, how we tell the story, I think that's when we can overpower our own story and forget about the shame and can define yourself. So I think, yeah, I can totally relate that how powerful it is to be able to tell your own story, which I did it through the film. But in any ways, facing the justice, criminal case is one way, I think, because that's the only way how you can redefine yourself. And I think that's also what I wanted to do through this making this film. So, which is a difficult one, but also, coming from Japan, where there's such a strong norm against victims of sexual violence and stigma against it. So it was really hard. It was before Me Too, and we still actually don't have any distribution plan yet in Japan, although we are trying. So it's still difficult things to bring up. But I feel like, yeah, I see the different change that why after Me Too, it's been 7-8 years, but now I feel like, yeah, what are we afraid of? It's not just speaking up, but it's also being comfortable with your own skin. And I think that's because, we had amazing layers of all the stories that made us feel like it's okay to share more. So for that, I feel like, making this film, but also sharing this film it's meaningful for me as well.
Do you think that there will be a time where the film will be seen in Japan?
That's my biggest hope right now, and that's why I decided to travel with this film this year as much as I can. And this film is my love letter to my sister and to my family, and they haven't seen it because I wanted them to see in a theater with other audience. So hope, yeah, it has to happen. I hope it will happen. But yeah, being able to screen it in London and different parts of the world, it's really helping us. Now we were also able to speak at UK Parliament, and yeah, it's really good that I feel like it's not, I feel like whenever we talk about difficult issue for me, especially about Japan, talking about Japanese society and different other films that I've made as well, sometimes the reaction is like, why are you putting shame to our society? But I think it's the great opportunity. We should take it as a light to update, to talk about a better future. And I think we just have to drift our conversation positive way, and that's, I feel like, happening slowly through traveling to UK and meeting these people, because that's really empowering. And of course it's not just Japanese problem, it's so universal too. So hopefully the film will be a common language to talk about, share about what we can do next. So yeah, let's see.
I have one last question for you because we're almost coming to the time. I just wanted to say congratulations on getting a Hatched Award from Chicken and Egg, which I also got. So I'm very excited that we are both getting this opportunity. And I want to know, what is your impact? What are your impact goals for the film? Because for those that don't know, Chicken and Egg do a Hatched Award, which can help with finishing funds. It's $30,000, but also there's impact. And impact for Chicken and Egg can mean, oh, you change the world, but it can also mean just eyeballs on a film. So I'm really interested in what is the impact campaign for this film.
Yes, thank you. Well, so right now we just kicked off our impact campaign, starting with UK Parliament, and also we just had a talk at EU Parliament, and hopefully we'll go to UN where we can talk with Japanese authority, because I think that's somewhere I personally, it's more difficult to reach, but with this support, now it's becoming more possible. So that's our top idea of how we're gonna do this, bigger picture of impact campaign through these stakeholders and lawmakers. But for me personally, I also want to start asking more individuals start asking what's in your black box, in your community, in your society. After showing this film, I feel like many people came up to me and like, I'm gonna do this and that, and I want to hear more about it, because I feel like this year has been talking a lot of this film, but now I start hearing more about what we can do as a filmmaker, as a citizen journalist, or journalist, as a just human being, and it's really exciting. So that's something I want to keep asking, keep bringing, because more impact campaign, I feel like I'm more doing is EU, Europe, and America, but these part that it's harder to reach, Asia and Africa and South America. I just want to be creative and want to be more involving more other individuals in it. So hopefully, we'll start podcast, or I don't know, whatever that is, to ask how we can open our own black boxes. That's something I want to do. So I'm very excited. Yeah, I'm so happy to hear your thoughts on this amazing journey.
Yeah, it's
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Well, Thanks so much for an amazing conversation. I feel like we should play out to I Will Survive or something like that. And I want to wish you enormous luck on your awards journey. The film has been gathering great momentum, and it's so exciting to see a film made with such heart and integrity is really connecting with audiences and critics. It's really amazing to see. So huge congratulations, and
Thank you.
wishing you all the best with the journey, the film.
Oh my God. Jeanie, can I tell you something? I had a little breakdown today. I had a little panic attack. I was telling my team, I don't know if I can do this talk.
Oh no.
I'm feeling really down, but then it was therapeutic.
Oh
my gosh. I'm so happy we talked about mental health. Thank you so much.
Oh,
it was
you're so
needed.
welcome.
This is something I needed today.
I think it's so important. And I sort of, I've been working with a mental health supervisor for 5 years now, because I think that the guidelines, the streamer guidelines and the broadcaster guidelines is 6 weeks, because that is the NHS bare minimum, because that is the cheapest way of doing it. But if you're making a film for 7 years or 6 years, which I've just been through exactly the same process, making a film for a really long period of time. We make films because we want to interrogate the deep parts of our souls or the trauma or whatever. Or even if you're making a film that is funny, the process of making work and putting it out into the world is deeply exposing in many different ways. And I think it's only just now that people are starting to take this seriously. I mean, I had a fight with a streamer when I just sort of said 6 weeks is inadequate. It's not enough. And they basically implied that I was kind of crazy. And I was just saying, look, if you don't protect your mental health, that is crazy. I mean, why would we? This is our most valuable tool, our brains, our soul, our softness.
Yeah.
And we have to protect our softness to make films in this tough world. I really strongly believe in that. So I speak out about it as much as I can, because I just think it's important. And also, you don't know what you don't know. So if you hear people, as you have to budget it, you budget it. Whether that's mental health support or whether it's, I have a disability. So when I'm filming, sometimes I have an extra day just to acclimatize when I have jet lag. And I don't feel ashamed to ask for that, because that's what I need to do my best work. So, yeah, anyway.
Thank you. We need more people like you, and I'm going to be one. Thank you so much.
Thank you both, honestly. I'll end the Zoom now for everyone. Thank you so much. Bye.
This podcast was recorded at a Directors UK member event. You can hear plenty more directors in conversation by subscribing on the usual streaming platforms. Follow us on social media and find out more about us at directors.uk.com.